This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Prime.
The Realty Debate with Manisha Natarajan.
A little more than 1,000 days out of 1,825 days of the present NDA government are complete. A government which came to power with a thumping majority is now well past its halfway mark. And now, as it gets ready to present the nation's financial blueprint for growth and development on 1st February, all eyes are on the North Block and Mr. Jaitley. How will he soften the degrowth impact of demonetization? How will he revive consumption, investment and housing? And how will he ensure that India does not miss yet another bus of global growth? Welcome everyone to the Curtain Raiser debate on the Union Budget 2017. My panel today, Anuj Puri, Chairman and Country Head, JLL India; Ritesh Vora, Partner Real Estate, IDFC Alternatives; Shailesh Puranik, MD Puranik Builders will also join us; Rohit Raj Modi, Director, Ashiana Homes Private Limited and Vice President, CREDAI; Gaurav Karnik, Tax Partner, Real Estate Practice, EY. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I think, I'm just going to start with that big number, which is the CSO number, which is reported that GDP growth will slow down to 7.1% in fiscal 2017 from 7.6% of the previous year, and these estimates use data only up to the end of October last year, did not take into account demonetization. We all know what's happened inside World Economic Forum. Nearly all conversations were about the fourth industrial revolution, and India was nowhere in the picture. If at all, there were opinions, they were only on demonetization pangs. Anuj, I will come to housing later, because really you cannot take away housing from the economy. So this is a very, very critical budget announcement, isn't it?
So it is true, Manisha, it is very critical. At this moment in time, if you were to look at it, real estate is truly suffering. And, in the real estate, the residential space is really suffering. Many of the regions, if you were to look at the NCR, are really battling at this moment in time. We're seeing many of the projects that were under construction stalling. A lot of the projects where there was a huge amount of labor which was working have been stopped. The labor has been made redundant. And clearly there is a big problem in the real estate sector. Unless the government looks at it more proactively, progressively, positively, and I hope they do that in this budget, this sector is going to go through even more torture. And if it goes through more pain and more torture, you're going to see more and more industries laying off labor. And hence the overall economy and the GDP will get dragged through the negativity that this sector is now possessing.
Okay. Rohit, you represent CREDAI. Tell me how bad are things? I mean, torture is the word which Anuj has used, and we've been looking at a slowdown for the longest time, 2.5 years of slowdown, piling up inventory, stalled projects, and now demonetization, where every buyer is fearful of two things. One, that if I buy a house today, its prices will belt, and number two, is my own job secure? The news of layoffs are all around the country. So how is CREDAI viewing the industry right now, and what are the fears that you have, which need to be addressed actually?
Sure. See, I think the preceding 2 months to November 8th saw sales coming back in the market. Buyers were
a little bit. Data doesn't show that they were back, but I think they were tired of waiting on the sidelines, and they started believing that prices are not going to fall further, so maybe it's time to come back.
Exactly.
Right?
So they had waited out, and the entire perception that the prices will further come down sort of was getting mitigated, and people were inquiring and the buying had started to take place. It's natural that post demonetization, it's something which is a once in a lifetime, hopefully, occasion for anybody. A couple of months would take a hit, because people would go back, review everything, etc. So sales have been sluggish over November, December. In January, we are again seeing inquiries building up. Our discussions with housing finance institutions are also saying that their call centers are getting lots and lots of new inquiries on home loan rates, etc. So we are very hopeful that the buying is going to come back once this union budget is sort of spelt out on 1st of Feb, because there's a lot of anticipation in public that the budget is going to probably bring down some more incentives in the scheme of housing, especially after Prime Minister's speech on 31st of December.
All right, so everyone's waiting for some more incentives to come in the union budget. Gaurav, I'm going to come to you. I mean, I really, housing is part of the larger economy. It has linkages such as that if housing does well, your GDP will do well, your 250 sectors plus who are related to it should also do well. But it's really a chicken and an egg situation at the moment. So what is it that you're hoping for in the budget? I think a macro view of what, larger goals should the budget fulfill, and then we'll come down to housing and say precisely for housing, what should it do?
So I think on an overall perspective, given the demonetization which has happened, there will be some impact on the growth. Now, to kickstart the growth, you correctly pointed out that real estate has the maximum linkages, forward and backward. So keeping that in mind, I think that's a sector which really needs some sort of incentives. Overall, I think on the budget, on the corporate tax side at least, there should be a cut in the tax rates. The promise of the finance minister was in 4 years he'll reduce to 25. And we are hoping that he will at least do a 2-3% cut this year in the corporate tax rate. Which
will that impact real estate? How will it impact? Are you saying that overall, because corporate tax structure will become better, companies' bottom line will become better, there would be just an overall improvement in sentiments, business sentiments? Is that the position you're taking?
Yeah, if you reduce the corporate tax rate, clearly the business sentiment go up. There will be a little more cash in the system because that much less going into taxes and that much more, on the bottom line, which can help. And I think that will clearly help the industry also.
Okay. All right. Let's come back to that, bloodbath and torture that we were discussing. We have CREDAI representative here in Rohit who says, look, things are looking better. At least people have started inquiring. Ritesh, what's your own opinion? We hear openly there's consolidation in full swing. Smaller developers are approaching larger developers to take over their projects. Land is getting sold. Now no one's waiting. For the longest time, we were hoping for that consolidation, but we didn't really see it prior to October. Everyone was hoping for better days or achhe din to come. But now I think the realization is, boss, I'm going to sink in deeper if I don't take a step right now. Are you seeing that PE industry should be the first, witnessing this or getting the deals right away?
Yeah, so that's true. But even for the PE industry, the ultimate redemption is that there should be customers. The PE industry can sit pretty today and maybe make a few nice deals happen. But ultimately, what we're all looking at is the fact that the customers need to come back to the market. The customers need to start buying. And, that's the ultimate redemption for both the developers as well as the PE industry, the equity investors or the lenders who are active in the sector. So I think really from everyone's perspective, what we all want is the customers to come back. And the customers will only come back, as you said, if they feel confident about the fact that their jobs are secure and the fact that there is not likely to be a price reduction in their investments that they're making in the residential sector. And I think to that effect, the government really needs to look at it from a demand side perspective as far as this budget is concerned, where you clearly need to do stuff which will actually propel demand and which will create an environment where customers come back, developers start seeing cash flows, investors and lenders again start looking at the sector more confidently, and an overall level of activity starts. And as you said again, the construction sector does have significant linkages backwards and forwards, and it will actually help the overall economy revive in a much faster way than compared to the situation that we are in today.
Okay, all right. Now, so demand is the problem here. Demand has to come back because you can have a consolidation, you can try and salvage the situation, you can run for as long as you can, but sometime you're going to run out of steam, and this is for the lenders and developers both. So let's take a look, a larger picture before I come back to you gentlemen on what the past policy moves have been by this government over the last 2.5 years. Remember that this government has always said, from its election manifesto, BJP said housing for all, and then of course in 2015 made it a mission, housing for all by 2022. Now what did it do? In the 2014-15 budget, it said that projects committing at least 30% of the total project cost for low-cost affordable housing would be exempt from the minimum built-up area and capitalization requirements with the condition of a 3-year lock-in. Then came 2016-17 budget and Arun Jaitley proposed 100% deduction for profits made by an undertaking from a housing project for flats measuring up to 30 square meters in the 4 metros and 60 square meters in other cities, which of course are approved during June 2016 to March 2019. They had to be completed within these 3 years. The government also in the interim period, not in the budget, but in an interim announcement in these 2 years, relaxed foreign direct investment or FDI norms in the construction sector by removing 2 major conditions related to both minimum built-up area and capital requirement, which meant that projects under construction, regardless of size, can have access to FDI. And finally, now the government has announced that interest rates of 3% would be applicable on loans up to Rs 12 lakh and 4% on loans up to Rs 9 lakh under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana (PMAY). Now, I am not going to go to the loan, first-time home loan borrower, because that's for a slightly higher category. Let's just focus on housing for all and providing housing which is under 25 lakhs, which in some way or the other should have benefited from these 4 schemes which have been announced in the last over 2.5 years now. We said 1,000 plus days are over. Anuj, have you seen any impact of it other than the fact that developers are now all racking their brains and saying, how do I get into this sector? But has there been any kind of dramatic change in the way business is done with these 4 schemes?
So, very good point. And Manisha, I'll pick it up from the last point that you mentioned, which is really the consolidation in the developer space. I think at this moment in time, a lot of the developers are wanting to find really what's happening with their own financial wherewithal. So they're a lot more internal focused. I do see consolidation happening. I think it has picked up more momentum. It has picked up more pace. It is the right thing for the sector to happen. And because they are a lot more internally focused at this moment in time, there aren't many who are looking at what the opportunity is there out on the affordable housing. That's the first point. Okay. The second is on the affordable housing, Manisha, in the top 7 cities, it is just becoming very difficult to implement. Affordable housing within the category, the way you've defined, whether it's 30 square meters or, below 25 lakhs. And the simple reason for that is that, 30 square meters, you can't really have a habitable unit being constructed. And the second is, Manisha, on 25 lakhs, given where the land prices are, even today, it is just very difficult to be able to construct an affordable segment at less than 25 lakhs in these top 7 cities. So I think those are the 2 combined things. One, a sector where the main constituent, which is the developer community, a lot more internal focused. And second, the opportunity itself does not lend excitement, because I just find it's very difficult to deliver at the levels which the finance minister has defined as affordable housing.
Okay. Shailesh Puranik also joins us. Shailesh, hi. Welcome to this debate on the union budget and what we can do to bring housing and real estate back on track. So the one larger question which I wanted the panelists to address was that, housing is so related to the economy and things are just not looking right at the moment for the economy or for consumption or for demand. Would you agree that unless there is a holistic view on reviving the demand cycle and consumption cycle, housing is going to continue to face some headwinds going forward?
No, I think it's the other way around. If you push housing, if you give SOPs to housing, and if housing starts firing completely, then it has the potential to bring back economy on track also. I think we are ignoring that fact and we are only concentrating on economy has to do well so that housing can do well. Housing can start doing well, the economy will have to improve itself. See, for a simple example, we are talking about housing for all. India has urbanization trends. Whatever SOPs are given, they are not applicable to any of the metros, tier 1, tier 2 cities also. If you increase these SOPs to, let's say, 50 lakh or to a 1 crore rupee, the subsidy available, the tax breaks available, then government has got to do nothing. They just have to offer these shops, be a catalyst in the right way to promote housing in metropolitan cities, tier 2 cities. By giving these kind of shops, we will see revival in all the sectors, because there are so many 250 sectors linked to housing itself. We are seeing a revival in commercial real estate.
So you're saying that,
will push lot of
you're
other
saying
things
that housing for all, Shailesh, you're saying is not possible, and I think the panel is in agreement to that, until unless you take these tax benefits that you're giving way beyond just 30 meters or 60 square meters, or the loans that you're talking about, 9 lakh, 12 lakhs, that's not really making an impact. Would you agree, Rohit? I mean, look at the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where the PM actually announced that interest rates of 3% would be applicable on loans up to 12 lakhs and 4% on loans up to 9 lakhs. Believe me, I mean, if they could just increase those limits, you would see a dramatic change in the industry, wouldn't you? But right now it seems to be targeted really at the EWS segment and nothing more.
I will take up your point which you just mentioned a little while back, that has any impact been created? So yes, I would agree that maybe an impact has not really been created, but all this focus of the central government on housing for all has definitely put the industry in that direction. People have started to talk, to conceptualize how to get into this particular sector.
So you were saying that Anud's argument that everyone's so internally, busy looking at their balance sheets and sales that they've not had the time to look at affordable housing. You're disagreeing on that? You're saying that
not at all.
looking at...
Anuj is completely right that there's a lot of internal focus right now because of the stress that has been there around.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, as an alternate, segment of the business across the country, as CREDA, we travel, we meet developers across tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I've started to see small actions happening on affordable housing in several tier 2 markets. I am in conversation with several developers in tier 1 who are on the drawing boards trying to figure out how to get into this. So the interest has been created by all this focus, was my point actually.
All right.
Secondly,
so it's not gone waste.
It has not gone waste.
Developers, government can't do it alone, and developers are saying, how do I how do I break into this segment?
Sure.
Okay.
A point was made on 30 square meter and 60 square meter. I just want to tag that point that in the last union budget, another point was made under section 80EE of Income Tax Act, where 50 lakh rupee has been defined as affordable housing. So only, and if you match 30 square meter with 50 lakh or 60 square meter in non-metro with 50 lakh, you will see that the per square foot rate as an upper cap is pretty high. So if the government was to either do away with this 30 or 60 definition and keep only 50 lakh as a definition, number one, or increase 30 to 60 and 60 to 90, you would see a spurt of this activity to start, because 50 lakh is very substantial to be able to do this. So there is a contradiction over there. If they just marry the two, we would see a lot of action to start.
Okay, let's look at the other big income tax incentive for the first time home buyer which came in, which last budget, INR 50,000 rupees tax exemption for a house worth 50 lakh with a loan up to 35 lakhs. So this 50 lakhs is becoming a magical figure, and I hope that's something which goes back. Gaurav Karnik, come in here and let's now start reeling out some specifics which the government should start looking at reviving demand.
So I think a couple of points there. One, the interest deduction which we get, it's about 2 lakhs, should go up to at least 5 lakhs.
Should it be blanket?
It should be blanket.
Because
it has
it's
to be
very
across.
messy otherwise.
Yeah.
Computation is very messy and you will have compliance issues. Okay?
So that makes it simpler, and it only doesn't affect affordable housing, but it picks up demand all across the residential segment.
Do you think it will happen? Because I remember this has been a big demand for the longest time, Gaurav. Do you think that the government will bite the bullet on that?
Yeah, this time I think the budget, the finance minister and the government is under some pressure to get over this demonetization effect.
So will it go from 2 to 3 or 2 to 5?
I'm hoping for 5, but let's see where they go.
Of course, we are hoping for the best. All right, so 2 to 5, that's a big point. Second big point, in fact, of the discussion today.
The other point is on affordable housing. The tax holiday is till 2019. I think he will have to extend it beyond that, because housing for all is till 2022. So they will have to have some sort of the sunset clause will have to be increased. That's one thing. Secondly, there's another section which provides another deduction for capital expenditure on affordable housing. I think some tinkering in the change will have to be done, that all expenditures are available for an accelerated deduction. Currently, you get 150% on capital expenditure. That will get over on April 1, 2017. So that should be increased. I mean, the period should be increased till 2020 at least. So a couple of these changes are clearly required. And if one looks at the REIT regime, there are some changes there, like making the holding period for long-term capital gains reduced to 12 months. Currently, it's at 36 months. So it should be on par with listed equity shares. I think that's one of the key changes that we need.
Also stamp duty. For a couple of years, everyone's saying that, give a relaxation on that front as well.
Yes.
All right. Shailesh, why don't you lay out some of your specific demands from the government for this budget, which you really believe will revive demand? And, we keep saying, okay, the rich don't need to, get any kind of benefits and SOP, so we're not going to discuss anything about 50 lakhs. Let's assume 50 lakhs the sweet spot, and around that, if we are able to get demand back, I'm sure the developers will move where the market is moving. What would you want the FM to announce on 1st Feb?
I think, again, I'm wanting to go back to, we are announcing, government is announcing 2022 housing for all and all that. But the industry itself is not getting an industry status. It is still not available, the debt is not available as a priority sector lending for banks. Banks can lend to infrastructure, and you see the growth in infrastructure that has happened over the past, say, 1 or 2 decades. And if you want to have housing as a focus area, and then you are not giving the basic status of an industry to that, you are not taking it under either infra norm or priority sector lending norm, how will you drive further growth in this sector? What are the rates that are available for interest rates that for developers are steep today. How can you build affordable houses? Even so much of cost is going towards interest, so much of cost is again going towards government taxes. Almost 26-27% of the total revenue is going towards government taxes, local stamp duty, urban local body taxes, NA taxes, development charges, service tax, of course, and income tax. So many other taxes are being levied on this sector. So government has to put a focus back on this sector if they really want to achieve housing for all, give us industry status, bring it under infrastructure norms so that it becomes a priority sector lending. Interest rates should drop down. Not the interest rate as a whole, but for this sector have to drop down. The kind of profitability is there in this sector today is comparable or even lesser than many of the other industries. So how can you sustain a high interest rate regime in this sector? Okay. Something has to give way somewhere so that more supply starts coming into market. Demand is there. We are only talking about why demand is not there. Demand is absolutely there. Supply will start coming into market. You will see a lot of affordable housing getting developed on the periphery of cities. You need to have a lot of investment in infrastructure also, especially in metros, so that all the fringe areas of metros start developing.
I think now the debate, we'll have to divide it into 2 aspects. So one is you've said, and I'm going to take from what you said. You said there is demand and supply has to come in. Developers have to be incentivized to get into that sector. Now, where is the demand? The demand's all under 40 lakh rupees, or the pent-up demand. What is a housing stock which is available and which is not getting sold? So there has to be, I think, a 2-pronged strategy that we need to look at from this budget. I'm going to take a very quick short break. We'll have Mr. M.R. Jaishankar, head of Brigade Enterprises, joining us right after the break, and we will get his opinion as well, because Bangalore, remember, is one of the most vibrant cities when it comes to real estate. So what are his thoughts in terms of what he wants to hear from Mr. Arun Jaitley on 1st Feb? Stay with us. This is a curtain raiser on the union budget and real estate.